You guys know what it is. It's episode 69 of Podcast. I'm your host, Pej. You know where to find me, PejTheManiac on all socials. That's where you'll see all my comedy content, daily comedy content. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this bad boy on Podcast on YouTube. Or if you're catching me on Spotify, hit that subscribe and follow button on there as well. I have a really, I was privileged to be introduced to this guest today. And we were connected through a previous guest of this podcast and my acting coach, Coach David Thompson. So he was the bridge that connected us. And now I'd love to give you a proper intro on this amazing person. First of all, his name is Rohan Pandya. He lives in Tampa Bay, and we have shared interests in acting, to say the least. He's been an actor since he was born. He knew he wanted to be an actor when he started watching one of his early heroes, John Ritter, as Jack Tripper in Three's Company, when he was just 2 years old. That is quite young to remember. That's pretty impressive. He was a toddler, so naturally he did not know what he was doing exactly, but he could see at the most what kind of effect it was having on people, or he was having on people. He knew he wanted to do something of the like. Stories like The Wizard of Oz, Midnight Run, Big, Goodfellas, Superman, Batman, all of the unmistakably different things kept striking like lightning over his earliest years. It took him some time to find his way, as do we all, right? And in pursuit of performing professionally. Now, he can't pretend that he's not in the acting business. Now, I do want to interject here. This is part of his intro, but I want to interject and say something Rohan and I found in common was that we are both children of immigrants that came here from the Southeast and Middle East of Asia. So India and Iran, to be exact. And we share a lot of similarities. We had a conversation and we share a lot of similarities as to our upbringings. There's a lot of comedy there for sure. There's also a lot of truth and similar struggles for our parents' perspective coming here to give us a better chance at having success in fields that neither of us were initially interested in, but we found our calling being acting and entertainment in general. And with that, I'm going to bring in Rohan now. Rohan, welcome. And how are you? And thank you for joining Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that. That was a very wonderful intro. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You deserve it, buddy. So tell me, and we talked about this offline, journey to clarity. So that has a lot to do with your intro. It also has a lot to do with my own journey and yours. We discussed that again before we had this podcast, but tell the audience what that journey's been for you.
So that's why this conversation, as much as we've talked about it, is so where the hell do you start? But I guess the best place to start is at the beginning, right? So, I come from a talented family too. I mean, my parents are very, very good singers by nature, and I am too. But, journey to clarity, when they uprooted their entire lives, took a huge risk versus what was safe, what was easy to pan out and expect. And they bring us here, hoping to. The sad thing is, it ends up becoming about, establishing a more lucrative life, and that's what the safe choice was in bringing us here. We took the risk so that you could make money, and not take a risk. Risk aversion is so much about where we come from, when especially immigrating. You take but that's the irony, is that you take a major risk to then install risk aversion. They don't know that they're doing that. They're not in the generation. They don't have the language and the experience to, even encourage you in chasing what you are dreaming about. I don't even know if they can understand that. I don't know if you could have the language, no matter how well you can speak, to explain it to them. And there's this thing. Have you ever heard your parents say to you, "That's not us"?
Ad nauseum, yes.
That ad nauseum. It's like, yeah. Like I understand I'm not Lata Mangeshkar. That's not what I'm not Amitabh. That's I'm not trying to take their place. Yeah. But maybe in this respect, it would have been better if you stayed in India, and I would have already been a Bollywood star at this point. Right. Everyone here is telling me to move to India. It's funny to experience that, but it's not to put any sort of judgment or conviction of guilt upon them for it. It's just what their experience, was, and what they're afraid of versus what we're willing to take a risk against. So, I hope that they see that. And I don't know what your relationship is with your folks, but I hope that they see that one day, that, wow, my parents have in certain ways and certain moments, but in the end, will they see that taking that chance was something to be proud of?
Yeah, man. Listen, that I more than relate. And I'm sure many people watching this also can relate. And by the way, this isn't only reserved to our backgrounds. There's people who were born here with American parents, which whatever that means, but people born here, and they, that pressure is there, man. The entire field of entertainment, be it musicians like yourself and me, be it actors like yourself and me, be it painters, be it dancers, anything that's non-traditional that has a direct line to a financial freedom, is,
yes,
it's gonna be, from a parent's perspective, especially a couple generations back of parents that are just there. I feel like the meaning of life has shifted. There's a paradigm shift in how we are living our lives versus how they live their lives. And I think the key word here is, and I can only speak for my parents, and you can tell me if you agree, but my parents moved to this country from a standpoint of survival. Okay. They moved here to survive. They moved here to survive financially, and also survive aspirationally for their kids, being myself and my sister. You have siblings, right?
I have one. I have a little brother.
Okay, mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. So you can relate from a sibling standpoint, but I'm the younger brother. You're the older sibling. So either way, it was that for them. Now, me having moved here at a young age of 7 or 8 years old, I adapted much quicker to Western customs than my parents did. Till this day, right? And we've been here now almost 30 years. But bottom line is, my parents were musicians too, right? Learn from ear. Didn't have formal training, but they loved music. My parents actually met through music. That's how they fell in love and all that.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, maybe not.
No, I'm joking.
We'll have to meet them to decide.
They're good. They're it's just more old school. Their love story is more old school, right? Like it's just the whole.
Is it a love story? They had a love marriage. It wasn't. I don't know what it is typically.
There was not. Let me rephrase this. They chose each other. They were not chosen for each other, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My parents are the same.
Yeah. And for that time, I feel that's very futuristic the way they've met. Anyway, bottom line is though, they were each other's first, right? So, and they believed in, first love and all of that. So with that comes some reality checks through time, right? At times, but they've hats off to them, man. They've soldiered through it, and they're still together, and they're over 40 years strong, and I applaud them for that. That it's meaningful.
Congratulations to them. That's nice.
It's huge. It's huge. Just a lesson on drive and determination for me. That's what I got from that. And I love them both. And they were very supportive, to go back to what I was saying, of me pursuing music, which was my first entrance into entertainment. And music's still always going to be a part of me. But my real calling, which is the whole topic of today's discussion, is journey to clarity, was waking up one day on my 33rd year of life on this earth. I'm 36 now, for reference. Or perspective. And I woke up this one morning and I was just like, dude, I need to make people laugh as a career, because I was doing that shit as a family thing, right? Like, I was the family clown. I was the classroom clown. Any religious thing I went to, I was the troll, right? Like, it was always like, at the risk of getting in trouble, I wanted to make people laugh. But then I was never taught that is okay to pursue as a career, right? It was always like, keep that in the house, behind closed doors. Go, you can do music.
It's a hobby. It's not an aspiration.
Yeah, the H word, right? Yeah. So it was embedded to me, and not even verbally directly per se. It was just put into my head through social, pressure. Anyway, at 33, I got rid of that monkey literally off my back, and I pursued it. I pursued it, man, and it was the best decision I could have made. Honestly, it was the best decision, and it took me 33 years to see it, right? And have that clarity, which it gets confirmed every day when I wake up, and I just, when I start with a joke, or when I start with looking at something more clownishly than what most people look at it as, seriously, especially people of our background, right? Life is so serious always. It has to be, the jokes are so far and few in between. What is your take on that? Like, how was your clarity met?
I love everything you just said. It's my parents were always fond of what was being created here. My dad saw Star Wars in theaters in India.
Wow.
They've always been into it. It wasn't just a point of acclamation. Like, they just loved it. So I grew up with all these older television shows and older music. I mean, my favorite song is a Billy Joel song.
Wow.
Crying out loud. But it's Vienna by Billy Joel is my favorite song, in case anyone gives a shit. But you mentioned in my intro John Ritter and Three's Company. Three's Company is still my favorite sitcom to this day. Yeah. Because you said this so well earlier, I wanted to do that, but I had no idea what I was looking at, really. But I did see a guy who was yelling and falling about and stumbling around, bumping into things, and being kind, and the effect that it was having on everyone who's watching him. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but thing is the kind of some version of the best me that I could be. Yeah. So I wanted to do that. As far as clarity, I always had that clarity, but then I lost sight of things, right? You know what happens? You start going to school.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I mean actual school.
Yeah.
And there's a small range of things that can happen. You may become popular automatically.
Mhm.
You may not. Whether or not you're popular, so to speak, you may even if you're in with the nerds, with the science geeks, as it were, you may be comfortable with that or not. So that's the thing, is I was so uncomfortable, which I have to say, in the long term, added to my artistic perspective and practice and craft work, that I was so out of place. And I didn't, even though I was born and raised here, English was not my first language. Gujarati was. So going into school, that was the first thing. And then also my kindergarten teacher pointed out the fact that I painted a teddy bear on the paper orange instead of the typical brown. So there's just this conformity that's, imposed upon you in every sort of way. Like, okay, you need to do things right this X, Y, or Z way. So I always had the clarity, but I lost it because I'm like, I'm not right. As soon as I started going to school, I felt so quickly, I'm not doing things right. But really, I was doing everything right. No one else is. Yeah. And that it's interesting to think about how you end up being a threat, even though you're completely harmless to people. I am not here to hurt you at all, but you're just not like they are. Yeah. And that's, I'm both resentful and grateful for it.
It's, I feel that's, that all equated to wisdom, long term, that all equated to wisdom in my opinion. And I share similar paths with you. And by the way, again, we're not alone in this thing, man. A lot of people go through this shit. And
I love these conversations for this exact reason, what you're saying.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something you said earlier in describing this loss of clarity and kind of trying to fit, right? It's you said that you were right the whole time, they weren't right. Now, I'm going to take that a step further. I'm going to say you were right, they weren't right the way you were right. Does that make sense? Like
they were not coagulating.
Yeah. What is it? Square peg, round circle, right? Like it's just, it was that kind of, and that happens with every kid, man. And I feel like our most clear stage in living is between the ages of like 3 to about 9 or 10. Right, in my opinion, and that's my own experience. It could be.
That's a nice generous range, right?
It is because for some it's not even that, and add to it, traumas that you go through potentially, right? It can fuck all that up. But the bottom line is, I teach kids. I'm a music teacher, right? That's my regular gig. So I see it in their eyes. I see it in their.
You see the insecurity that they're going through, that they're struggling with, like. That constantly.
And the older they get and the more they start thinking about what's the cool thing to do, you see, how do I fit in with this group, because they're not talking to me right now, so how do I get them to talk to me? And I was that kid, you were that kid, right? It was like
absolutely.
and I see that,
not how to get them to listen to me, how to get them to talk to me, what I mean? That's
and I do, and you mentioned things start to get controlled in our lives, right? As young adolescent children growing up. And I feel that's so true. And that's where I try to differentiate to the best of my ability. And I'm far from perfect. I screw it up. But the idea of...
Oh, you're not perfect? No, I was pretty sure you were.
I differentiate teaching from... teaching through example as opposed to teaching through rules. Rules don't mean shit. Rules just means this is a world that's safe and this is what you have to do to stay safe, right?
Rules are limitations. When you teach by rules, you're teaching limitations. Yeah. You're not what you can do. You're not teaching freedoms. You're teaching how to box yourself in.
Exactly. And teaching with love, I think, is the most important thing. Teach with love. love everything you do at all moments, and be passionate about it, because that speaks way more than what you're actually saying, right? And that's what I mean by action. If I'm teaching some notes to some kids, they don't give a shit about the notes. You know what I mean? And it's teaching why those notes translate to a powerful entity. It becomes something bigger than those notes, right? Notes on paper no one gives a shit about notes on paper. It's what those notes on paper create for the soul. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So that's where I go with my methods in teaching, either individually or in groups. And I've always found that to be more successful. And it's not to say like, oh, they remember me more than other teachers. It's not even about that. It's because I don't want those kids to have the same struggles I had or you had. You know what I mean? It's a deeper. I'm not just a music teacher at the end. I'm trying to teach about life through music.
Yeah, something interesting to piggyback on that with is when I first started learning piano. My buddy Vince, is my teacher, and the way he was talking to me about it is how a whole musical scale, a whole piano, you look at it as like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, physically look at it as a circle. So it's all feeding back into each other. So, I mean, the way you relate to the material is paramount, in terms of what this means. If it ends up becoming about proving something to someone else. And that's another part of my journey to clarity is having to explain myself was part of the reason why I don't think I really pursued acting professionally, even though I was always practicing it, is because I couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain away the lack of practicality. I couldn't explain my purpose or my plans. I couldn't explain that because I don't have any plans. I'm going for it. I'll figure it out. But that was not, really in terms of relative standard, easily acceptable. And so like the journey towards clarity, also to get back to that, as I got older, I'm actually about the same age as you. I'll be 36 this year.
That's right.
In August, I'll be 36. So I only started, starting workshops and everything about 3 years ago. And even then, it's something you have to force upon people. You know what I mean? The people don't think it's a good idea. You have to just do it, like you said. Like you have to lead by example. Just take the chance. That's what it really is. They're not necessarily saying you cannot do it. They're just afraid for that it won't work out for you in a white man's world. That's their perspective. That older generational point of view, but they love what's happening here, but they just don't want you to take that chance because they want you to be safe. It's coming from a good place, 100%. But it ends up being so defeating and so unencouraging, and really they don't have the language for it. But then even when you blow their minds, they can withhold, or they can be reluctant about rewarding you even just verbally about it, because they're still afraid of that chance. Like
that's the key word, man. Fear is it's paralyzing, right? Fear is a way to get you to not do anything. It's a way to get you to just basically not live, but survive. Like I said, my parents came here as a survival mechanism, right? My dad's store, they were not Muslim in Iran, so therefore they were from another religion, Baha'i religion. And what ends up happening with the Baha'is in Iran, not to get off topic with religion, but just to
not at all,
not just to share their quick.
I'm saying you're not off topic.
Oh yeah. To share that Baha'is were looked at in Iran the same as Jews were looked at in Nazi Germany, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
The difference is there's way more international pressure on the government now in Iran, so they can't do the same shit they did in Nazi Germany. So it's harder for them to kill the Baha'is, but they've done it.
That's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny.
It's not funny. Just I'm saying, like, I can laugh at anything, like you can. Just the comedy of this
the shock and
grave
awe,
nonsense.
Yeah, the shock and awe is the laughter I give to that, right? So it's like, but it's bottom line is because they can't easily assassinate or kill people, what do they do instead? They kill them financially. They kill them educationally. They kill them slowly, basically.
Deprivation is also murder. I like that.
Yeah. So they closed my dad's business, which was very lucrative in Iran.
Oh, Jesus.
They shut it down 3 times. Third time, my dad never wanted to leave Iran.
What was this business?
Appliance. He fixed appliances.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a handyman his whole life. So he gets that closed. First time, he's patient. 6 months of no work. He made so much money though. He was able to live off for the 6 months without any income. My mom wasn't working. It was just my dad. And so they let him open it. Another month of work, close it down again. And then by the third time, he sits my sister and I and my mom at a coffee table. I remember vividly.
Oh, God.
And he tells us, we're going international, which is the word he used in Farsi. It's just kharij. But which means we're leaving here. We don't know where we're going. That's basically what he said, right? So, and my dad loves his country. He loves the people of his country, not the government, the people. And he loves the culture, all of that. And they're actually there right now. But but now he can do it as a citizen of US, so they can't do shit to him. But bottom line is,
now he has that buffer.
yeah.
Buffer of protection.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So that was his beginning of his journey to this country, right? So it was survival. It was literally survival. So that mindset to then come here with his children and then be like, all right, we got you here so you can be safe. You can have a chance at education. You can have a chance at success. And I want to, this conversation can go on for hours, as you and I.
Oh my God. It can go on until tomorrow morning.
For sure it can. But what I'd like to do instead is have you back on multiple times to as both of our careers are progressing and continue this discussion and see where everything has led, right?
Thank you. I would love to. I would love to be a regular current guest. You have no, all you have to do is tell me when.
Absolutely, man. It'll be a pleasure. But I do want to end this chapter of the conversation on this, and that is the word success. Okay. We talked about journey to clarity. Now we have a good idea. The audience knows what your story is, what mine is. Now let's talk about success, because success to our parents has a direct tie to financial freedom, right? You can agree to that.
Very much so. Very much so. Security, you know what I mean? Just being okay. You checked off certain boxes. You can wake up tomorrow if something bad happens.
Yeah.
You can cover it. Like that becomes the basic format. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, do you agree that success to you and I means more than financial freedom? It means mental freedom.
You know, have you ever seen The Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Great film.
So, you know, his final speech when his daughter is reading that letter that he wrote. So one thing he says a lot of things, but you know, I hope that you experience things you've never experienced before. I hope you felt things that you've never felt before. I hope that you're living a life you're proud of. And if you find that you're not, I hope that you have the courage to stop and start over again.
Yeah.
It's easy in a movie, right? You know, versus standard, but it's not. That's the kind of life I want to live. I think of, and not to be corny, but you think of, I think of Titanic. Mm-hmm. James Cameron's Titanic. You think of Jack Dawson, like, and you find that wretched existence appealing to you. Well, yes, ma'am, I do. I love waking up in the morning, not knowing what's gonna happen next, not knowing who I'm going to meet, and where I'm gonna wind up. Just the other night, I was sleeping under a bridge, and right now I'm here on the grandest ship in the world, having champagne with you fine people. I have everything that I need. I have the air in my lungs and a few blank sheets of paper And that's it. That just enjoying where, your journey is not something the world very readily allows you to do. I mean, standardization, you need to get it together if you're enjoying yourself too much. Like that's so confusing. I don't know what to tell these people. Even if I know better, I don't know what to tell, how to explain it to them. So that's kind of how I look at it. Is I'm not flying by the seat of my pants. I'm living, but
there's a fine line.
Settling is not living.
That's it. There's a fine line between I think how our elders look at this career and the insecurities that come with it potentially. They look at that, they almost equate that to living recklessly, which is not at all the case.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, which is not at all the case, because we have aged enough, right? We went through our 20s and doubts and all that bullshit where we were like, you know what I mean? We went through our 20s to learn that that's not, like, you went to college, I went to college. We both know that fucking that, like.
It's like you want me to stay. It's like you want me to fucking stay in that place. You won't accept me as I am now.
We're trying to.
It's like, listen, I'm sorry that I'm Peter Pan that meets Aladdin.
Peter Pan that meets Aladdin. I love it. That's a great. That should
give me a fucking break here.
I love that. I love that, dude. Yeah, I get, and I think, again, because of that survival mindset, I don't expect my parents to really ever understand this till I've gained that financial freedom. Right?
And what? I mean, look, I don't believe in ghosts, but if I saw one, I would believe. For them, seeing is believing.
Exactly.
They need to see something. I've gotten into crazy clashes with my father about life,
I've been there, man.
which I didn't really expect to happen when they were. I mean, who does? But wow, I mean, a few years back, it was a blowout between us that was making people cry. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But because it's his insecurities and his projection onto me and everything, it's like, how do you resolve that stuff in an ultimate fashion? You really can't.
It all happens with love, man. That's how I look at it.
Yes, you're right.
It all happens with fucking love, dude. And you argue with him because you love him. That's why.
Yeah,
man.
no, we butt heads because of the ways that we're the same. You know what I mean? I'm so much like my mother. I feel like I'm so much more useful because of my mother. But no, but seriously, it's because of those ways that we're the same. Yeah. And oh my God, I love movies. I can tie every moment. I mean, every kind of moment to something. I think of The End of October Sky. Yeah. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Like I believe I have something that makes something of myself in this world, and it's not because I'm so different from you. It's because I'm the same. But he needs to hear that. So I mean, being able to express that in the right way, in the way he's able to hear it. The people that you need to support you need to hear things about them. Like, it's all reciprocity. And like you said, it's love. Like, if you love them first, they'll love you. They'll put all those eggs in your basket. You know?
Oh man, listen, dude. The idea of love it's so vast. It's way more than 4 letters, man. It's so much, dude. It's like, I can tell you, people hate each other because they love each other. That's think about that. Like,
I know, I completely agree.
People fucking, because hate, I don't think is real. Love is, right? And that's, call me hippy dippy, call me whatever. It's what I believe. And for me, the proof has always been in the pudding. I hated some people growing up because I wanted to love them. You get what I mean? It's anyway.
I think along with that, also, I'm going to add to it is misunderstanding ends up to.
That's exactly
just
what it is. Yeah.
Hatred that no one wants to hate each other.
Exactly.
So it's just an unresolved conflict. It's an unresolved misunderstanding is what hatred ends up really being conclusively.
Yeah, it's either love or misunderstanding. That's literally all it boils down to.
Boom. Bibbity boppity, give me the zoppity. That's that.
By the way, Carell, dude, he was one of my heroes, man, in comedy. Steve Carell, and bro, and
if someone could get me a bust of him, just like a sculptured bust of him for Christmas, that would be one of the best gifts anyone could give me.
I was, and the reason I brought his name up, obviously you brought up the quote, but I was going to talk about him to wrap this episode up, and I know one of your heroes is John Ritter, but Steve Carell, Kathy Bates, some of these amazing, amazing multi-ranged actors and actresses, Morgan Freeman. Dude, all these people who I looked up to, Jamie Foxx, these are guys. These are people. De
Niro. That guy's surprisingly funny. Joe Pesci is.
Yeah, who's De Niro again? Yeah, obviously he's the GOAT, man. But yeah,
I love actors that come into something like Dave Chappelle is not one to stand up like yourself and has become this amazing dramatic actor.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about. But what I was trying to say is a lot of these people that I looked up to as from the acting world, comedy world, hybrid, the hybrid of both, is they all got their break in their 40s, dude. Steve Carell got his first break in his 40s. Kathy Bates, 40s. Morgan Freeman, like 50s.
Sam Jackson revived in his 40s.
Exactly.
Patience, man. I don't know how you feel about your sense of patience.
Yeah,
patience. I'm a chill, easygoing guy, like by nature. But patience, real patience, is not my strongest suit. It's something I had to learn, and I have to put into practice every day. Patience with myself, patience with life's pace. Just wait.
And I agree with you. I empathize with you. And I'll tell you this. I struggle with patience because of fear. Right? I struggle with patience because I'm like, fuck.
Time.
Yeah.
Doesn't the passing of time scare you sometimes?
The crazy part is time is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. We created that time. We created the clock. We created all that shit.
You create the crunch of time is completely human invented. It's kind of like religion, but anyway.
Yeah, that's the next episode. We'll talk.
Okay, I'm just taking jabs. I'm sorry, but no, we'll talk about
man.
that.
It's a rule, right? Time is a rule. Time is another rule
Time is a rule. I like that. I really like that.
I'm telling you, man, this shit is getting deeper and deeper.
Oh my God, you have no idea where we're gonna go with this. This is the intro episode. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this is one of many, and I'm so privileged that and again, thanks to Coach Thompson for connecting us. Because
David, we love you. Yes. David's the man. I love David.
Yeah, he's great.
Genuinely good-hearted person.
And he's been through some shit, man, and he's seen it. And I'm sure he's told you.
He's not very, you know what I mean? He doesn't want that to become your problem, and so he really makes it about you when you're sitting with him. It's like, man, I need to stop and ask you about you. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah, man, it's dawning on me right now, and I'm trying to end this episode, but it's so freaking good. We got to keep talking. Yo, he's doing what he's doing for us, right? And we are talking about how we teach people that are younger and how we talk to younger kids to make sure they don't do what we did, right? But guess what that is? We're doing the same shit our parents did. We're trying to protect them. You know what I mean? It's like it is a level up. It's like one level deeper, but it's still the same thing. Like we get so obsessed with prevention that even though we're literally saying you need to live and you need to not know all the answers, we're turning around and I'm making the same mistake. I'm telling these kids, listen, live your life. Don't listen to, but then that becomes a rule after a while, right? The bottom line is, it's like, how do you teach someone to just be them and without them feeling like because we're so wired to look up to elders. We're so wired as kids to be like, they know what they're doing. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. But as a kid, it's a traumatic experience if you think that way, right? It's like,
and as a kid, it's so confusing to try and even consider deciding who's giving you the right guidance. You know, as a music instructor, you're telling them things that are valuable and you want to, but you're not their father.
No.
So are you going to go ahead and override their parents' words? Like, does that make you a respectful person? Like, what does that make you?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of shit. So I have something valuable to impart to this little person, but I can't because of I'm not wanting to overstep my bounds and be disrespectful.
It's
but
the rules.
Their parents are also may not, possibly completely inconsiderate of how they're negatively damaging their kids because they're also trying to go along with the system. So,
yeah, man. One of my biggest heroes that's actually not an actor is Kobe Bryant, and it's
Kobe,
bro. It's the way he attacked life, as opposed to like he always said, right? Fuck fear, man. And he's I follow his stuff closely, and you know what's funny about?
I love Kobe.
By the way, exactly.
It's possible that I may have done a minor in Kobe Bryant in college if that were an option.
Wow. That's next level, dude. I love that. But here's the funny part about Kobe.
Him or Michael Jordan, it's one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. See, you and I are of the age that we were lucky enough to see both of those guys, and we're privileged. And LeBron, not everyone loves LeBron, but I
love LeBron. I think LeBron's such a nice guy.
I think he just elevated the game even more. I think he was able to show you can be a point forward in the league and have success.
I don't know why anyone should hate LeBron James.
But that's the lesson. That's the lesson. I think because I did that as a kid, man. I grew up on Michael. I was a Bulls fan, obviously, and when Kobe came around, I'm like, oh, he's just trying to be Michael. So guess what happened? As a ignorant kid, what did I do? I started hating on him. I started hating on him as a Laker. And when they started winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 championships, I was like, nah, dude, no. And then I had friends who were Lakers fans, so that didn't help. Anyway, bottom line is, once I actually got my brain to work properly, I was like, this guy's amazing, right? And the only regret I have, and I don't like regrets, but the only regret I have, if I could do it again.
I love regrets. Regrets are some of the biggest lessons, man. They stick with. I don't like unresolved regrets.
Yes. There you go. That's to be specific. You're right. But what I'm saying is, though, if I could, and I've resolved it because I love that man now way more than I could have ever hated him, because that hate wasn't real. We talked about it. It was misunderstanding and me being 12 or 13 years old. Anyway,
you were conditioned to one hero versus being open to that there's maybe more than one.
hero villain type of deal, right? Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that guy has taught me way more than Michael could have taught me, just because of the way he handled life after basketball, the way he got a freaking Oscar when no one thought he could win anything in entertainment. And he went and did that. I'm like, hell yeah, bro. Like, and he talks about it. He's like, I handled it the same way I handled basketball. He was a loner. He was always a loner because he wasn't afraid to be inside this, because he believed in himself so highly.
Siphoning things out of your perception that are just bogging you down is such an elusive, abstract concept, man. It's so gnarly. But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's it. This is, neither of us are cutting
the focus, the fuck use that man had.
Yeah, that's
it's so remarkable. I mean, anyone like that? I mean, Joe Pesci, a man of few words, but very focused.
Absolutely, man.
Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson. Oh my God, it's such a charming man. He makes it look so easy. But
yeah, I almost have a man crush on him, and
he is such a discipline to him. I mean, and you cannot perceive how discipline and a commitment to it is really going to add so much value to your life and make things so much more easy. It just seems such an waste of time so easily to people.
Exactly, man. It's 1,000% true. Listen, man, this is a riveting discussion.
We'll pick back up on this. Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I want you to let the audience know if there is any projects you're getting involved with, past projects. If you want to plug any socials, I know you said you're not that much onto social media, but whatever you have, do you want to plug? Please go ahead at this time.
I don't have too much to plug. I'm still waiting to see the final cut of the only movie that I've ever been in. Yeah. It was supposed to be showed last month, but that didn't happen since which is indicative by the fact that I'm talking about this, but we'll see. They've been kind of on radio silence. And that's another interesting thing, right? Is you have to allow for time for the people who are controlling the whole project, however long it takes. Yeah. So whatever you do, don't expect the fruits to be born right away. I don't have anything that I'm working on right now, but if anyone sees this or hears this and thinks they may want to meet me, I would love to, because I want to play so many different kinds of characters. So it's kind of a tall order to even answer that question. But I do not have that. I don't really have too much to plug. I am working on writing a few things, but we'll touch back on that next time.
Absolutely. If you want people to reach out to you, how can they do that?
So my email address is my first name, Rohan, ROHAN 813 @gmail.com. My Facebook is just that, my name, Rohan, and last name Pandya, PANDYA. You can reach out to me on Instagram as well. It's at RoHoHo15, like Yo Ho Ho 15, men in a bottle of rum. And that's my Twitter handle as well. So you can reach out to me there as well.
And that is all on the screen here. It'll also be in the description of this episode. Rohan, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for.
Don't steal from me.
I can't steal.
Share a little bit at least. Come on.
You can.
I have no pleasure.
Okay, you can have some. All right.
Okay. No, it really was a delight, man. We're not going to have enough time ever to talk.
By the way, for perspective on people who are watching this is our second conversation ever. So
ever in this life, this is the second time we've spoken.
It took us 35 years to have 2 conversations, but it's going to be 2 of many, many, many more, because we just vibe and we get each other and we have a lot in common.
Fluidity.
Exactly, dude. Hey, this has been episode 69. I
love that my first appearance on this is on episode 69.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
I know. And we crushed on Dwayne Johnson at the same time. Yeah. I love it. Dude, thanks for coming on. And this is episode 69, as I said. This is Fumble Podcast. I'm PejTheManiac. Follow me on all the socials on the screen. Hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel and follow me on Spotify or wherever you take in your podcasts. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rohan. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you so much, Pej.
Appreciate it.